Hi, it's Tamara again, and I have another Disney junk journal to share with you today. This one also has the theme of magical adventure because, like it says, it's so much fun. Just a piece of lace ribbon on the outside to hold it together. Let's get into this baby. Starts out with pure magic right there. And then there's also some pockets, but I chose not to put anything in them because I felt like the first page should really be the voice of the person who purchases this book. And this is also a pocket up here, but I didn't want to cover up the dream. That's your job. Nice little journaling page. So these books are intended to be either just simple journals where you can record your thoughts, or this could also be a place for you to specifically record your anecdotes and memories from a vacation. Obviously, this one has a Disney theme, and so I think that it would work fabulous to stuff all of your little maps and tickets and receipts and packaging and all of those thoughtful details that Disney does such a good job of including at their park. We started going to Disneyland as a family in 1999, right after my husband and I got married. We didn't know what was going to happen when we started going to Disneyland. We just went on our honeymoon, and we were planning on going for just one day, but it was only, I think, like $5 more to buy the 3-day pass instead of the single day pass, and so we bought a 3-day pass. And in another video I told the story about how we wandered all over the park finding what we would want to do and just being disappointed a little bit because things were not, they were like younger than we remembered or not as full there. And then we hit Frontierland and Critter Country, and all of a sudden all of that Disney magic that we remembered from when we were really little came back, because neither of us had been since we were 5 years old. So it had been decades since we had been to Disneyland, and we had no idea what to expect. And it just took Critter Country. So ever since then, we have just been addicted to going. And every time I go, I have a tendency to gather all kinds of maps and like the fast passes. I save those, and just anything else I can get my hands on, like the maps. There's a part of the map right there. Anything else I can get my hands on in the park, because coming home there's always all kinds of cool stuff to do with it. So after years of collecting all this crazy stuff, I finally thought, oh, junk journals, that's what I could do with all of this stuff. And it was in a perfect time, too, because I was just about to throw away all of the things I had collected throughout the years. And instead, I've just been putting them into these junk journals I've been making. I also have been collecting a lot of vintage picture books and postcards and all kinds of things to use for the Disney. This is just a little envelope, and there's nothing in here right now because this is here for you to fill it. But yeah, and so like this was purchased when my daughter was just tiny, and she was sending postcards to everybody at home. She was a new writer, and so we were making sure that she was using that opportunity to write to her grandmas and grandpas and cousins and stuff. And so she'd send those, and those are left over from, like, I want to say 2005 or so. And then a lot of the maps that I get as a teacher, I think that that's a really reasonable souvenir to give to my students when I return from a trip. And so I bring maps home and generally have a few left over. So picture books, postcards, whatever I can get my hands on, that's exactly what I'm putting into these books. I like these little pastry bags. I like the crinkle as much as anything with those. That's auditory sound is fun. And then in the maps, I found little things like this is first visit. If you don't know, the first time you go to Disneyland, you can get a little pin. And on your birthday or anniversary or whatever, this was one of my favorite books that I found. I got this at the Goodwill. And it's Pluto on a boat. But the book is so old that the pages are naturally yellowed with age, and it's a super brittle book, and so I couldn't use it as a foundational paper, but I could certainly use it for just a decorative piece. But I really like it whenever I see bits of Pluto on his little boat. These are my new favorite. Oh, come on. Sorry, doing this around the camera is a little bit tricky. These are my new favorite little pockets. There's a pocket behind right there. And then if you open this up, oh, and this is also a pocket right here, but just for something tiny, not for a big thing. And then these unfold. And so I imagine you can stick something in here, but you can also just write here if you want to. I do like these as a recording kind of tool for a vacation, but I also like the idea of using these just as a coffee table book. Like this on a coffee table, I think would be a curio. It's like an adult, oh, come on, get on there. Sorry. It's like a grown-up pop-up book kind of, where I would want to look at this if I saw this at somebody's house. I'm not imagining this little tag is going to stay here. This will be a picture, of course. And then this is a pocket, and this is not a pocket, which is unusual for that one. Some little tags here. My mom was getting rid of her entire VHS collection of Disney movies. She had been purchasing them as soon as I was a teenager for her future grandchildren, without knowing that VHS tapes were going to be a thing of the past. And so I gave all the tapes to my students in my class if they had a VCR at home. And then I just kept the covers to use. And so that's another place. This is a little plastic, it's like from those planners that have gotten popular over the last couple years. And I just thought it was a great place for you to be able to put your things. But of course I had to stuff it with little things. And so there's fast passes and little snips from brochures and things that I found. But you can either write your own things on here, or you can leave it as it is because it's cute, or you can replace it with your own stuff. I have this lace that I found that I think was just so pretty with all the mini pages. Whenever there was something particularly pink, I really liked to use the lace because it just added that little feminine streak there. Cinderella and her godmother. There's not Sleeping Beauty, Belle's Beauty and the Beast, the back of that VHS tape. Because I collect so many maps, I have a huge variety of them. And so here's the Frozen one from, I want to say it was 2 years ago, that cover from California Adventure Map. And so I just tried to include those as a little decorative thing. This is intended for a journal page. I imagine that a lot of people could take little things like that journal page or a postcard and give it to their 5-year-old and say, write your thoughts on here about our trip or about whatever. And you'll get some cute little things that you can just tuck in along with everything else that you collect from around the park. This is a page from, Pongo just had babies. Oh, here's a proud father. And I made tags with some book pieces this time. All the tags are clean on the back, so you can write. And like I said before, if you don't want to use any of the stuff, you just pull it all out and do whatever with it and fill it up with your own stuff. This is mostly just placeholders while you figure out what you want to do. Or, like I said, you can, of course, use that. There's Geppetto inside the whale working hard. Little folder sheets or folder pockets, and then a place to journal there. I always like these. Like, I imagine saying that one of my kids gets to fill this up. So we're going to be gone for 5 days. I want you to fill each of these up. So on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it gives a really accessible, not long way that they can participate in writing about their trip that's not going to take too much time. I made a bunch of Mod Podge tags this time. I just Mod Podged onto some graph paper and then sewed a ribbon on it, but it was a kind of a nice way to use a bunch of the scraps that were left over that I had used for the whole book. Another one of those with the manila on the back. This is right from the map guide. Another little envelope with a postcard back here. I think this must be this is another one from, where is that from? Is that Toy Story? Or is that Geppetto and Pinocchio? I think that must be Pinocchio. Oh, it's Pinocchio because I can see the bad guys that lure Pinocchio. Yep, Pinocchio, 1940. So anyway, sorry that took so long. But that's the end of the book. So some last thoughts there on Cinderella putting her shoe on, and then the final cover page. So hopefully you enjoyed looking at this one. It will be on Etsy until it sells. Love that apple button there. And if I hope you found some inspiration at the very least. Have a great day.